Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about non-monogamous dating, but more specifically the differences between a gentleman and a simp. If you guys don't know what simp is, it's basically beta male on steroids. It's a very miserable existence where you have no freedom, you do nothing at all that you want, you are most likely in a sexless relationship. You have no other options beside this relationship, and the main reason you got in this relationship in the first place is because that's all you had. You didn't have any options, and it probably was at least 6 months before the last time that you got laid. So the first time that you got laid with this girl, you were asking her right there after laying in bed, can we get in an exclusive relationship? I'll treat you really good. And she says, okay, because then that means on Facebook she gets to put in a relationship. And then she gets the Valentine's Day flowers, and she gets a present on Christmas. So she feels good about that. But anyways, jokes aside, gentleman versus simp. So gentleman, of course, is a societal construct. The real difference would be the alpha versus simp, but that's a different context. Because gentleman versus simp, there's kind of a fine line in the behavior. Gentlemen, you want to show that you are a strong, independent man, that you are leading the interaction, that anything that you could forecast that the woman would need, you're basically proactively leading the situation. So you see that you're going to be entering into a restaurant, and there's a door. Well, you're the stronger one in the relationship, and you open the door. That's a gentlemanly thing to do. Might be a heavy door. It might be a challenge for her. So you got to open that door and have a smile. And then you go into the restaurant and you open her chair. You open her chair, she sits down, you push the chair in. What were you doing? You were actively forecasting what she would need and how the situation could go. Because in order for her to be in her ultimate feminine energy, she is basically needing to turn her mind off. Let her turn her mind off, let her be present, let her be in fairy tale land so she could feel she's totally safe, and you want the inner girl to come out. Like the little girl inside of her needs to be comfortable so that she could play, and then she can get into romantic mode. And ultimately that is where you need to play. You need to always be asking yourself, is she in a chill, feminine state where she doesn't have to worry about anything? Because if you're hanging out there a lot of the time, you're going to have a very low drama relationship. But on the other hand, if you're not forecasting the situations, seeing she might need this, and you being the leader are making her life easier. That's what you do. You want to lead, you want to make her life easier, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily her bank. It doesn't mean that you're her servant, but you're actively looking at ways to make her life easier and to have quote-unquote chivalry. I don't know how old the concept is of being a gentleman, but I do know that if you go back far enough in human history, there's always been some extent of being a gentleman, because if a man goes out and hunts and brings back game, to some extent he's making her life easier. But did they necessarily hold the flap to the teepee open for the girl? I don't know. Simp, on the other hand, is total beta. Is you are doing actions specifically and only for her to like you. Now, this could be paying excessively for her. This could mean that you've never once in the course of your relationship maybe asked to pay. Now, I'm not specifically saying that paying for everything is simp, but in most cases it's being a simp. It could be that you're a legitimate baller and you don't care, but regardless of the money, regardless if you have $1 billion, you still want her at some level to be contributing to the relationship. That doesn't have to be money. It could be help around the house. It could be help with the kids. It could be doing you certain favors. There's a lot of possibilities here, but you want to see that both sides are contributing. The last thing that you'd want to see in the relationship is just she's taking. Because if you look at a simp's relationship, that's exactly what it is. The girl is in the relationship with the simp. The simp is paying for everything. He's bending over backwards for her, but he's not an attractive man. And on the contrary, she is with him for security purposes. She is with him because maybe he makes a good father, he makes a good placeholder boyfriend. But as soon as that time of the month hits, that she's in ovulation, and women naturally get really horny, and they get horny specifically for alphas. She is going to magically go for girls' night, and then she's going to go out and meet the Chad, meet the alpha that she's not necessarily looking for a long-term relationship with. She's just looking for sex because that is her biological imperative to find the highest testosterone dude that she thinks that would make good potential offspring. Now, there's zero chance that she's thinking this consciously. Okay, maybe 1% chance. Maybe she's actually trying to get pregnant. But assuming that she's not, she's just doing this subconsciously, that this is the most attractive man who naturally is the most alpha man. So there is a fine line between gentleman and simp. It's hard to get into the exact details because every relationship is different. But you should know whether or not you're trying too hard, and you need to figure out whether or not she likes you for you and not just for your resources. Because even being a high-value man, part of that is having resources. But none of us want a woman to like us for having just resources. That's what happens when guys are rich and they're fat. They think, well, I have money. I don't need to be good looking. Women just like me. Yeah, women like you for your money, and you know that. Do you really feel like you're going to look in the mirror or look at your pictures in the relationship and be satisfied? Because if it was me and that was me in that position, I would be thinking, at least some percentage of her is with me just for my resources. Now, maybe she likes me a little bit, but probably the overwhelming majority is just because you have money and you make her life easier, you make her life better. And that right there would fall into simp category. So make no mistake, money helps. This is not a game of getting girls and not helping them at all. I think it's necessary to help girls and to be their provider, but there is a fine line. It's good to be a strong gentleman that leads the way, helps provide, but ultimately he doesn't do too much to where she still has to prove her value. And I think if you stick to that frame of mind of keeping just a little bit for her to prove her value to you continually is very important, especially if you're in a non-monogamous relationship, then there's always some level of competition anxiety, knowing that you or her at any time could be replaced. So that means, you need to keep leveling up, and you need to keep being a good partner to her or hers, your different women. So keep that in mind, guys. Don't be a simp. Being a simp is a terrible way to live. I can't say I've ever lived totally simpy, but I've definitely acted in simp ways in the past, and I could identify instantly when I see a simp. And let's just say it's a lot easier to fall into the habit or the ways of being a simp in a monogamous relationship as opposed to a non-monogamous relationship. Because not only there's very, very few of us that are non-monogamous, but all of us are freaking kings. We're all kings. You look at us and you see us. We're these baddies. How can we not be kings? And by having this situation in your life, this beautiful abundance, you look in the mirror and you're like, damn, I really did pull it off. I did. I'm the fucking man. And they know it. All right, guys. Be the man. We'll see you in the next video.